was a young boy living in the city, all I did was run, 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 run. Staring at the lights, they look so pretty. Mama said, son, 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 you're gonna grow up, you're gonna get old. All that that glitter don't turn to gold. Until then, let's have your fun. Boy, run, 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 run. When I was a young kid living in the city, all I did was pay, 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 pay. Every single dime that the good Lord give me, I can make it last 3, 4, 5 days. Living it up, living down low, chasing that luck before I get old. Looking back now, we had some fun. Boy, run, 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 run. They tell you that the sky might fall. They say that you might lose it all. So I'm running till I hit that wall. Yeah, I learned my lesson, count my blessing. Look to the rising sun, you run, run, run. They tell you that the sky might fall, and one day you can lose it all. So I'm running till I hit that wall. If I learn my lesson, count your blessings. Look to the rising sun, you run, run, run. Run, run, run. Didn't get everything I wanted, but I got what I need, yeah, yeah. I see the light in the morning, shining down on me. Take me up high, take me down low, where it goes, where it knows. Until then, let's have some fun, yeah. Run, 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 run. They tell you that the sky might fall. They say that you might lose it all. So I run until I hit that wall. Yeah, I learned my lesson, count my blessings. Look to the rising sun, oh run, run, run. And tell you that the sky might fall. And say you might lose it all. So I run until I hit that wall. If I learn one lesson, count your blessings. Look to the rising sun, oh run, run, run. Run, run, run. Run, run, run. Yeah, I learned my lesson, count my blessings, look to the rising sun. Yeah, I learned my lesson, count my blessings, look to the rising sun. Yeah, I learned one lesson, count your blessings, look to the rising sun. Yeah, run, run, run.
Come on, let's make some noise for Michael Scott, right? I mean, is that not what working from home has been like over the last 18 or so months, right? I mean, that's pretty accurate.
I think so.
That's
I
pretty
think so,
accurate.
right?
I mean, and today we are looking at this idea of work, right? We're looking at this idea of work, and you know, it's the importance of work. And listen, it's going to be a great time. Let's hear it again for Brad and the band before we go any further. I mean, man. Run, 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 an incredible song. And I mean, sometimes that's what work feels like, right? It's like you're just running, and you're just in that rabbit wheel. And so, you know, we've been in this incredible series, Spark, Igniting the 167. And when we think about the 168 hours of the week, give or take, you spend an hour with us, what do we do with the other 167 hours? And so we're in week 4 of this series, and we've been looking at rhythms to make that 167 hours more productive in a way that helps all of us get the most out of our lives. And so this week we'll be looking at another healthy rhythm, and that healthy, purposeful way of getting into a rhythm of what work really looks like. And so, man, I'm just glad that you all are joining us today, especially those who are here in the venue and those that are watching online. Listen, you could have been anywhere, but you're tuning in with us, and we appreciate that. And listen, we'd love to be able to connect with you, and the way that we do that is through this thing called the connection card. And listen, the digital connection card will probably popped up in your feed with the button right next to the service stream. For those of you who are in the venue, one of the best ways to access that is to pull out your mobile device, take a picture of the QR code on the back of the seat in front of you, as well as on the armrest. For those of you who are in the venue, just a quick reminder that masks are now optional for those who have been fully vaccinated. And if you haven't been fully vaccinated, we just ask that you continue to wear that mask out of integrity. If you haven't been vaccinated, to continue to protect those who are here, mainly our kids, our students, and those who are most vulnerable in our community. And so we thank you for doing that for us. And again, for that connection card, for those of you who are regulars and partners who are around here, you kind of know the the drill. Put your name on that. But if any of that information has changed, make sure that you go ahead and mark that. But for those of you who may be visiting us for the first time, if this is your first time, we certainly hope that this is not your last time. We're glad that you're here with us. And if you put your address on that connection card, we'll be sure to send something in the mail just to say thank you for hanging out with us today. Man, and, speaking of the amazing things that happen around here, we have amazing kids in student environments. In fact, our kids' environments are reopened. They're here. They're available for our 9 o'clock service on Sunday mornings. And you can go ahead and reserve your tickets. Those tickets become available on Tuesday at 12 noon. 12 noon on Tuesday. You can go ahead and reserve a seat for your kiddos there. And listen, we'd love for you to be able to enjoy those environments. And, speaking of those environments, we'd love to expand those environments. And the way that we do that is by you, right? When you all decide to jump in and volunteer, we'd love to be able to expand those environments. And if that's you, go ahead and mark that on your connection card. We'd love to have you volunteer in our kids' environments. And listen, for those of you who may, want to get the alert for when those tickets go on sale, guess what? Go ahead and put your email on there, and we'll make sure that you get an email as a reminder so that you can be reminded to go ahead Tuesday at noon to go ahead and get those tickets. Along those same lines, our kids and students environments are still on our YouTube channel. That's right. They're on our YouTube channel. You can go ahead and subscribe, hit the notification bell to get all of the new and latest content. It's uploaded every week. So even if you're away on vacation, you can still get that same incredible content right there delivered to you through our YouTube channel. This is really cool experience. CSM, we are in the Summer of Fun. That's right, Summer of Fun for the 7th through 12th graders. If you have a 7th through 12th grader, middle or high schooler that would love to be a part of what we have going on for this Summer of Fun, last week we had a tremendous time, Brad, at Top Golf.
Oh, did you?
It was
did you
incredible.
play, or did you just watch the kids play?
Well, I watched the kids play. Well, what happened was more students showed up than what we reserved for.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's a good problem to have.
It was a good problem to have,
Yeah.
and it got better because one of the machines actually broke.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How's that better?
First of all, they said this never happens. It hasn't happened since they've opened for this particular machine, but it happened twice in the last 2 days.
Goodness.
Yeah, it wasn't cool.
Well,
but
hopefully you benefited from that.
Oh, we did, because again, more students came, which meant that they had to open up another bay, which we would have had to pay for.
But now you didn't, because there
See,
you go.
You got
See
the
there?
math down pat.
That's good. That's good stuff.
But we had a good time. We had a great time.
But what are you doing this coming Monday,
So
though?
this coming Monday, we'll be at Urban Air, and so that email will be coming right to you.
If you like trampolines.
It's trampolines, it's zip lines.
See, I've never been
virtual
there,
reality,
virtual reality and
Yeah.
urban. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll come chaperone.
Please. And if you're interested in chaperoning or being a small group leader, we'd love to be able to have you be a part of that group. 7th through 12th graders are an amazing group, and we'd love to have you. Summer of Fun. Make sure that you go ahead and register for that event coming up this Monday. Hope you guys enjoyed the amazing food trucks. That's right, food trucks are back here on campus at Crosspoint each and every Thursday for our early weekend service. Thursdays, lot opens at 5:30, weather permitting. And today we kind of got a surprise, but it was really cool for us to be able to still go ahead and get something to eat. And we weren't able to tailgate outside, but we did get an opportunity to get some good food. But listen, each and every week, it'll be there, weather permitting, and we look forward to having you there. Now, here's a really cool announcement. I think it's really cool for me because this is probably one of my favorite times of the year around here at Crosspoint. At the Movies 9. That's right. At the Movies 9, it's back. Let's make some noise for that. In 2 weeks, we'll be beginning this series, and listen, it's going to be better than ever because the movie theaters are back, right? Like, you can actually go back into the theaters and watch some of our favorite films. And so, this series is when we take a look at the meaning behind some of the biggest movies of the year and finding the fiber of faith that's in them, and that's in those big screen movies. And it's an incredible series. And listen, let me explain how you can get some free movie tickets, right? Because we all love free movie tickets since the movies are back open. So first of all, you can invite a friend. You can invite a friend or a coworker, neighbor, and they can get free tickets if they decide to come and join us here for worship during those times. And then any guests you invite to Crosspoint during the At the Movie series, they get free movie tickets. And guess what? you get free movie tickets as well. So you don't want to miss out on that. I've benefited from it almost every year. I don't know if you have.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, we invite everybody.
We love movies, so might as well benefit.
Man, I invite random people in the grocery store. I don't even know them. I'm just like, hey, you want to, come on and go.
You gotta go to church, and then you go to see a movie for free.
It's a great deal.
It's a sweet deal.
It's a great deal. So listen, we have a great service planned for you all today. And again, we're so excited because we're diving into this concept of work. And when we think about work, a lot of us think about work as it relates to a paycheck, but that's not it at all. It's an opportunity it's a God-ordained opportunity for us to really to do the most with our lives and to be productive with our lives. And so I'm going to ask that you all stand with me, put your hands together, because Brad and I have an amazing song that's going to take us a little closer.
Welcome to Crosspoint. Go ahead and sing this with us. Put those hands together. Our lives, our hearts, our hands, we're reaching out to see you move again. We can hardly wait. Come flood this place. We're ready now. It's all about to change. Let your kingdom come. Let your will be done. Let your fire fall. Let your fire fall. Open the heaven. Pour your spirit out on us. Unleash your presence. Jesus, come alive in us. Open the This time, this place, it's yours. Unlock the gates and open up the doors. Let your kingdom come, let your will be done. Let your fire fall, let your fire fall. Open the heavens. Pour your spirit out on us. Unleash your presence. Jesus, come alive in us. Open the heavens. Darkness trembles, mountains shake. What was dead now comes awake. Every captive breaking free. Right now, right now, right now. Sing that with us. Darkness trembles, mountains shake. What was dead now comes awake. Every captive breaking free. Right now, right now, right now. Open the heavens. Pour your spirit out on us. Unleash your presence. Jesus, come alive in us. Open the Well, we're going to keep singing today. I'm not sure where you are today, but just know that there's a God who loves you, who's available to you, and there's nothing he cannot do. Sing this with us. Just one word, you calm the storm that surrounds me. Just one word, Just one touch, I feel the presence of heaven. Just one touch, my eyes are open to see. My heart can't help but believe. There's nothing that our God can do. There's not a mountain that He can move. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can do. Oh, just one word, you heal what's broken inside me. Just one word, and you revive every dream. Just one touch, I feel the power of heaven. Just one touch, my eyes are open to see. My heart can't help but believe. There's nothing that our God can do. There's not a mountain that He can move. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can do. Oh, there's nothing that our God can do. There's not a prison wall He can't break through. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can do. It's true, there is nothing God can't do. And we can't believe in that today. Go ahead and sing this with us. I will believe for greater things. There's no power like the power of Jesus. Let faith arise, let all agree. There's no power like the power of Jesus. I will believe for greater things. There's no power like the power of Jesus. Let faith arise, let all agree. There's no power like the power of Jesus. I will believe for greater things. There's no power like the power of Jesus. Let faith arise, let all agree. There's no power like His power. There's nothing that our God can do. There's not a mountain that He can move. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can do. Oh, there's nothing that our God can do. There's not a prison wall He can't break through. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can do. I will believe for greater things. There's no power like the power of Jesus. Let faith arise, let all agree. There's no power like the power of Jesus.
Well, hey, go ahead and grab a seat. Man, let's give it up for Brad and the band one more time. I don't know where you find yourself today, but I know I needed that. So, guys, thank you. Thank you so much. Man, that was so good. Man, just a reminder, right? Just a reminder. There is truly nothing that our God can't do. And with just one word sometimes, And so we're going to be diving into that a little bit more today. And my name is Chris, one of the pastors here at Crosspoint, actually pastor of a brand new campus that's coming to Westfield Christmas Eve of this year. Christmas Eve 2021, brand new campus headed to Westfield. So if you want more info on that, head to crosspointweb.org/Westfield. And you can find out all about that. But today we're jumping into this series, Spark, Igniting the 167. And we're calling it because you've got 168 hours, right? And so we want to know, what are you doing with the other 167? What are you doing? How are you building up? How are you creating purposeful living? How are you creating momentum as you move forward week after week after week? And so today we'll actually be talking about work. We'll be talking about how work fits into your week. And the type of work, it might look different for everyone. Whether you find yourself closing deals throughout the week, or maybe you're folding laundry, or maybe you're volunteering at a local shelter, or caring for an aging parent, or maybe your job right now is filling out application after application after application. Wherever you find yourself, we all have some place where we put in the work. And after a year of kind of strained relationships with work, we're going to be diving back into the rhythm that is hard work, and how when we get this right, it sets us up for the rest of our lives. But before we go any further, I want to pray for us. Let's do that. God, thank you. Thank you for this time. Lord, I'm so thankful. And God, I'm so thankful for all the people that are joining us, whether they're here in the venue, whether they're joining us through the online window. God, I'm just so thankful because there are so many other places they could be right now. So many places they could be, but they're here with us right now. God, and I'm wondering that you might have something to say for each and every one of us, that you might equip us, that you might draw us a little closer to you. And I pray that that's exactly what happens today. That we would be a little bit different as a result of our time that we're experiencing together. That we'd be a little bit more equipped for some purposeful living when we leave this place, God. So we pray that all in your Son's name. Amen. So as we take a look at work today, it's not very far into the Bible where we begin to see work. We see God working right off the bat, honestly. We see God working right from the very first chapter of the very first book. We see this over, 6 successive days or 6 successive periods of time. We're not going to argue that here tonight. But we see him working. And then on the 7th day, he rests. And we actually talked about rest and play just actually a couple weeks ago. And if you missed that, you can go to crosspointweb.org/watch, find all of the content we do here each and every week. But we talked about rest. We talked about play and how that is a part of your weekly rhythms. But we see God, and he's at work. And he's doing things like he's calling light out of the darkness. He's separating the waters and forming dry land. He's putting these swimmy things in the water. He's putting these creepy crawly things on the ground. And then he's creating men. He's creating women. And as he does this, at the end of each and every day, it says this, that and God, he saw that it was good. And you might be asking the question, well, what was good? What exactly was good in there? And the thing that he created was good. Yeah, absolutely. The thing that he created was good. But also the thing that he was doing was good. And what he was doing is he was working. He was working. And so we have to have this understanding that right now that work is a good thing. And we have to understand that right now for many of us, maybe you have a difficult relationship with work, and you might think, man, if my life was just a little bit easier, if I had a little bit more time off, if things were just going a little bit better, maybe I wouldn't even have to work, or I wouldn't have to work so hard to provide for the people around me. And maybe it causes you to have a little bit of a bad attitude when it comes to work. Because, we have this inherent shared belief in our culture and our society today that work is somehow not good. But here's the thing, if God did it, it is good. And so when I looked back, this week I spent some time looking back over all the work experiences that I've had in my life. And it was actually my birthday this last week. And so we all do that, right? It's your birthday. You spend some time thinking about the years past. You're getting a little older, and so you just sit down. And so I spent some time just looking at some of the work experiences that I've had over the last, however many years of my life. I'm not going to share that number because some of you might laugh at me. But when I did that, when I spent some time looking at those work experiences, I started to see some patterns. And actually, this could be a really good next step for you to do this week, is to sit down and do this. We'll get to that here in a little bit. But the very first job that I had as a kid is I was a soccer referee for like 6-year-old kids. You see, I played soccer, and so when I was about 12 years old, I got to become a referee and referee these little kids. I mean, you've seen 6-year-old soccer, right? I mean, we've all seen 6-year-old soccer. There's no refereeing. I mean, you're just kind of out there like pulling kids off of one another when they fall. You're picking them up off the dog pile. I mean, there's no soccer happening. But you see, for 12-year-old Chris, I felt like the king of the world with this job. First job, I was getting paid $12 a game, and the games only lasted like 30 minutes. So it's like, man, you do 5 or 6 of those on a Saturday morning, and I felt like I was just loaded, just flush with cash as a 12-year-old, because what do you really buy when you're 12 years old? I mean, nothing, right? And I got a whistle. Right? And you might be thinking like, okay, yeah, a whistle, that's cool. But no, if you're 12 years old and you have a whistle, you are powerful. And if you don't believe me, give your 12-year-old son or daughter a whistle this week. Give your 12-year-old niece or nephew a whistle this week, and just see who has the power in that relationship, right? You see, for me, when I was 12 years old, when I became a soccer referee, there was power there. There was a sense of responsibility. I had to show up when I said I would show up. I would have to do a good job and look presentable. I mean, this was the beginning of things that I began to learn when I looked at what work really was. My second job is kind of an odd one, to be honest with you. My neighbor across the street, his name was Bill, and he was kind of in some upper management, this ball bearing factory. And you might think like, what in the world? Honestly, it was an odd job. It was weird. But I was in charge of filing the orders. Like, that was my job in high school. So me and my best friend Drew, we got to go to this office, whenever we wanted. We just clocked in whenever we wanted. It was open 24 hours a day. We'd clock in, we'd file some paperwork. If there's no paperwork to file, we'd go out and we'd just sweep the floors. I mean, we got paid good money for high schoolers. But we honestly did not work very hard. And we didn't have to, because there was no one really paying attention to us. And maybe you felt like that over the last year. Maybe there wasn't a lot of work to do, and there was no one really paying a lot of attention to you. And so you did kind of what I did when I was 16 years old. You just kind of kicked back a little bit. But one of those things that I recognized when I spent some time thinking about this week is that was maybe one of the first experiences where I had to work with people whose personalities weren't really like mine at all. It pushed me outside of my comfort zone. You see, when I was 12 refereeing little kids' soccer games, I was a soccer player. I knew that. I felt comfortable in that space. But as a 16, 17-year-old walking into a warehouse with people that are punching the clock, that was a new environment for me. I didn't know anything about that. And so it taught me a lot of things about that. And then the third job that I was thinking about this past week is, heading into my freshman year of college, I worked at a textbook company. Pearson textbooks. Anybody know Pearson textbooks? Maybe if you've ever read a textbook, you have absolutely had a Pearson textbook in your life. And you were privileged to have someone like me that was getting that textbook to you. You see, what I did is, that freshman year, heading into that freshman year, is I was in charge of taking the textbook from one assembly line behind me onto the other assembly line in front of me, putting in the box, and doing that 9 hours out of the day. While the box went by, another textbook, all day long, 9 hours a day, 3 months of my life that I will never get back. And to be honest with you, as I spent some time thinking about it this week, I'm really glad that my parents kind of pushed me to that. Not only because, it gave me some spending money for that first year of freshman year of college, but it taught me the value of furthering my career with education. It taught me the value of spending time with people who are absolutely nothing like you. It taught me how to relate to someone when I don't even speak their language. You see, that was maybe the first entrance of my entire life, of me being thrust into an incredibly diverse situation. and incredibly, and it was kind of a forceful entry. I didn't know what I was getting into. Me and my friend Luke, we were like, yeah, cool, good money. Like, yeah, we'll show up 7 to 4. We can do this. I mean, we can, whatever. We can do a box. Like, we'll be fine. But you see, Luke, he spoke fluent Spanish. I did not. And so this was a forceful entry for me into a world of diversity, into a world where I was not the most normal, common, person as I thought I was. Like, the world became so much bigger in that one summer to me because I spent time with people who didn't look like me, who didn't talk like me, who didn't act like me, who didn't grow up like me. And it was an incredible experience for me to do that. And when I look at all of those jobs, I see God was molding me and shaping me and changing the way I viewed the world in so many different ways. But what I also saw when I look at all those jobs is I saw that at the end of every single day, I was able to look at something and see, I did that. I was a part of that. I was a part of that little kid maybe growing up to love playing soccer and playing soccer all the way through high school. Or I was a part of that ball bearing, whatever those even are, honestly, I don't know, becoming something to work in something to do something. Like, I was a part of that. Or, when I was in the textbook company, right? I mean, I was a part of a kid getting a book and learning and growing and furthering themselves. You see, there was that satisfaction that came along with the work that I was doing. But today in my job, you might wonder, like, oh, what's that like now, Chris? You're like a pastor. What's your job like now? And you see, when I look at the end of my day, when I walk away, turn the computer down, turn it off, like walk away, turn around. Honestly, at times it feels like I can't see anything. I mean, it feels like I look at my day and I think, well, that was a day, just a calendar filled with meetings and obligations and places to be and people to spend time with. But I don't always have this tangible, like, oh, I got that thing done. But that served me well all throughout the rest of my life leading up to this current job, because this job now it's people work. And all the things that God had taught me to get to this point in all the other jobs, He's using in me right now. You see, the same repetitive things, the same enduring through difficult times, spending time with people who are nothing like me, engaging your heart, engaging your soul. You see, these things God taught me all the way throughout my work experiences. And it was working on stuff that now has turned into lasting things, lasting value. Being with people who are different than me, different experiences than I've had. And all this is so important. And this is where we're going to be going after this today. You see, so over the next 20 minutes we're going to spend together, 15 minutes we're going to spend together, I want to give you just 3 ways that if you begin to implement them into your life right now, that it'll change dramatically the way that you look at work. And so the very first one is this. When we work, we get to be like God. We get to be like God. You see, God creates on the 6th day. He creates Adam and Eve, men and women. And when He creates Adam and Eve, He gives them responsibilities. In other words, He sets them up. He sets them up to work. Because if God works, then He wants His children to work as well. He actually says this, Genesis 1, check this out. And God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it. And I read that, I'm like, man, that's some good work, right? Be fruitful and multiply. Like, I can do this. All right, that sounds fun, right? I mean, those are some good words right there, right? I mean, come on, we can all be a part of that. But then there's a little bit more to it, though. There's this subdue the earth. How do we subdue? What does that look like? And so you've got to fast forward, actually, just a little bit to really get an idea of what God meant when He said to subdue the earth. It doesn't mean that the earth is out of control, not yet at this point at least, not yet here. Sin hadn't yet entered the world. So subduing the earth, it means to create culture in the earth, which was an incredibly important thing. You see, earth, it started in this Garden of Eden, and it ends, if you get to the end of the book, if you get to Revelation, it ends in this city of God. The city of God, not in a garden, but in a city. And so we see this progression happening all the way throughout the Scripture. We see this progression of getting from this garden into this city. And something like that doesn't just happen. There's progress, there's change, there's culture, there's civilization that gets you to this point. And so how does that happen? It happens because Adam and Eve, they have to They have to work for it. They have to bring some proper management systems into place. And nobody told them how to do all of these things. They kind of had to just figure it out on their own. And how many of you have ever been in a job where you were just handed a set of things and told to figure it out on your own, right? I mean, that we've all been there. We've all been in a place where it was like, all right, here's the book. Just like go and figure it out, right? I mean, that's where they found themselves. And they had to figure these things out. No one ever told them, you do rows of crops, you space out your seeds, all these types of things. And they never actually got this idea of what culture really needs. You see, God hasn't downloaded all of the knowledge into their brains. No, he's given them brains that function and grow and learn. But we need to figure out some of these systems ourselves by the way we communicate and pass along knowledge. You see, that's work. That is part of subduing and filling and creating. That all is work. And what is God up to today? If you're a deist, I mean, you might think, what's God doing today? And you'll believe that once God finished creating the earth, he kind of just disconnected and got distant, right? No, I mean, not at all. Like, we believe that God is still at work in the world. It's still at work in the midst of our lives. And Jesus, he takes his cue from his Father in heaven. Look at what he says. It says this, my Father is always at his work to this very day. And I too am working. Like right now, he's working. He was working in that song we were singing. He was working in that conversation you had in the office, that conversation with your neighbor this week. God, Jesus is in the midst of every conversation you're in, every relationship you're in. He's working right now. And he created you and I to begin to value this work that he's doing. And so we have to build this rhythm back into the 167. We have to build this rhythm of working, getting to be like God when we work. Which brings me to the second one. When we work, we work to serve others. We work to serve others. You see, at its base, if we get down to the core of what work really is, at its true core, I think work is really about serving other people. A couple weeks back, we talked about play and rest, and those are all incredibly important things. But when we look at work is really about serving other people. When we look at play, we're really serving ourselves. But when we work, we're serving somebody else. And this might feel a little bit difficult depending on where you work, whatever your work looks like, whether you're caring for an aging parent, or maybe you're folding laundry at home, or maybe you're closing deals throughout the week on cold calls, like whatever you might find yourself, you might feel like this is a little bit difficult to figure out, how am I really serving? But let's put it like this. If you're a trash man, I mean, this should be a little easy, right? You pick up trash at houses so that they don't stink, and that serves people, and you get money, but that ultimately it serves people. Or maybe you're a waitress or a barista, and what are you doing in there? You're giving up your time, you're giving refills, you're serving drinks, and maybe you're getting a paycheck, at the same time, but you're serving other people while you work. And some occupations, they might be a little bit more difficult to figure out this serving angle. Maybe you find yourself in a cubicle. You're in the back, you're kind of crunching numbers, you're getting the quarter three, quarterly numbers out, making sure it's accurate. You might think like, I don't really see how I'm serving anybody when I'm doing that, Chris. But maybe you're serving that boss that you work for, that has people breathing down his neck, that feels so anxious and stressed out. She feels like she's at the end of the rope. You're serving her when you work hard, when you work well. Maybe you're serving the shareholders who put their own hard-earned money into that company. And these things, they need to be reported properly. I mean, you're serving them when you work hard, when you work well. Maybe you're a teacher. If you're a teacher, you're serving that child. The mental processes of that child. You're growing, you're shaping the future for that child. You see, at its heart, work is really all about service. Jesus, he actually said this. He says, the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. And I think if we change these words up just a little bit, the intent would be still the exact same. Check this out. If we were to change it like this, like the Son of Man did not come to be worked for, but to work and to give his life as a ransom for many. You see, this is what Jesus did. He worked. And you're like, Chris, I don't remember seeing Jesus work. I mean, he was spending time with people, he was teaching people, but like, I don't really remember him like working. But maybe you've heard this before, that Jesus, he took up his father's business, that he was a builder, he was a carpenter. And maybe you don't really see Jesus getting a paycheck, but that's because really what you're reading is focusing on Jesus' life from about the age of 30 to 33. And in that time span, really, there's no record of Jesus getting a paycheck. There's no record of, Jesus collecting that, putting it in his wallet, buying things, any of that. But I'm pretty confident that up to that point in time, that he probably got a lot of paychecks. That Jesus was working all throughout. That he was a builder, he was a carpenter, he was working, he was getting paid. And while he was working, he was building things for other people. He was serving other people in the way that he was able to serve. Making a paycheck, that's awesome. But at its baseline, work is really about serving somebody else. And whether Jesus was getting a paycheck or whether he was not getting a paycheck, Jesus was still working. He was building things. He was doing things for other people. He was teaching other people. Jesus, he was no stranger to hard work. So what do we call our work? We call it our vocation, right? If you look at your occupation, your job, it's your vocation. And what's cool about vocation, you maybe not even realize it, but when you're saying that my vocation is a builder, or my vocation is an accountant, or my vocation is I'm a college professor or a salesperson, whatever you say your vocation is, you're actually tapping into the divine origin of what work really is. Check this out. This is the definition of vocation in the dictionary. Check this out. It's a divine call to God's service or to the Christian life, a function or a station of life to which one is called to by God. Is this Latin word vocare? It means to call. It means to summon out. And we have to get to this place where we feel like our work, whether it's a job, whether it's folding laundry as a stay-at-home parent, whether it's taking care of an aging parent, whatever your work is, we have to get our hearts to the place of recognizing that it's not just a job. It's not just a paycheck. It's a calling. It's a calling to something more, something greater than just myself. Whether you're called or summoned to make cold calls because there's something that somebody needs to know on the other side. Or maybe you're a stay-at-home parent and you're folding laundry and you're doing the dishes, and that's back-breaking work, but you're called to it. You're summoned to it. You see, we have to get to the place where there's not this mystical fog that comes down and tells you this is exactly what you're going to be, and it's going to be incredible, and you're going to want to post about it on Instagram all the time because you have the best job in the world. No, we have to get to the place where we recognize that our work is so much more than just that. Our work is so much more than just a really cool job or this perfect job that you're proud to tell everybody about at your 10-year high school reunion. No. It's so much more because you're serving. You're serving somebody. And when you serve somebody, you become like God. There's this calling that I have. There's this beauty that comes out, this purity. And the reality is that this is not where we are as a culture. Would you agree with me? It's not where we are. And I don't care where you find yourself on the spiritual spectrum, atheist, agnostic, believer, whatever you would call yourself. We should all be pretty united as people that our culture is becoming less and less interested in God. And I think that it goes right in line with our attitude towards work, our decreasing desire to work. There's an organization called Gallup that does a poll every single year on employee engagement. Employee engagement basically just means when you go to work, do you do your job? Do you work hard? Do you care about what you're doing? Are you putting in the time, the energy, the effort? Are you actively engaged in the mission of the organization you're a part of? And what I found when I was looking at these statistics about employee engagement is that things were actually on the up and up. I mean, employee engagement numbers had gotten to their highest level in the history of the entire survey up until about March of 2020. They reached about 38% of employees that were actively engaged. You know, they've got this entire study that shows years and years and years, and these numbers had gotten all the way up to the highest number. And then something happened. Maybe you guys know what happened. COVID hit. And then they saw this significant drop in those engagement numbers at work. They found that at its height, that 38% of people were actively engaged in their mission, defined as, you know, you're showing up, you're doing what you're supposed to do, you're focusing on it, you're all in. But now that number is about 31% after COVID. And there might be something to do with these numbers a little bit beyond just what we're seeing right here. There's actually, you know, if we look at that clip from Michael Scott earlier, some of us probably felt that over the last year. You're just kind of going through the motions, getting to where you need to be, trying to just slug through the day. But actually there's this thing that people have been calling the Great Resignation over the last several months. The Great Resignation. If you haven't heard about it, just Google it. I mean, the coronavirus pandemic, it offered a lot of people an opportunity to really take stock of their life. To take stock of their work from home, their job in the office. And they recognized when their job was maybe either laid off or furloughed or sent home that honestly they weren't under this huge pressure to perform these essential functions that they never even really liked in the first place. And so whatever it was, whether they're laid off or furloughed or sent home, whatever it might be, they found themselves just kind of upended across the board, which allowed a lot of people to reevaluate what was most important, to reevaluate their work, their calling, their summons, this career that they found themselves in. And honestly, we've even seen that take place here on our staff. I mean, take our video and production coordinator, Drew, for example. Drew worked for years in the kind of technology industry and the news organization industry. And he had been telling me this, actually, we've even talked about this for a couple of years at this point, that he felt like there was more, that God wanted more from him, that there was something that he could do that was more towards his calling, that was outside of where he just worked. And he made the jump. And he works here now. He's sitting in the back right now. I mean, Drew made the jump because he felt like there was more to life than just this work that he didn't feel called to. And it's what people are calling the Great Resignation. I mean, we're seeing it over and over and over. So there are way more layers to these numbers, but the keys here are still the same. That when you look at these numbers, that it's nearly 50% of people that are not actively engaged in their job. That nearly 50% are, you know, they're showing up, they're surfing the web, they're on social media, you know, they're buying stuff on Amazon, they're getting their stuff done, but they're kind of checked out most of the time. You know, I'll come in a little early tomorrow so I can go home, you know, whenever I want the next day. Like, you're just kind of going through the motions. And then you look at these numbers, you think, okay, well, where's that leave the rest of it? Well, the rest, this 12%, are actively disengaged, meaning they're intentionally subverting the culture. They're subverting their boss. They're subverting the environment. They're intentionally talking trash about the place. I mean, these are the people that are checked out completely and willing to go as far as they can to tell people why it's the worst place in the world. And here's what's disturbing to me about these numbers. You see, after COVID, that 38% dropped to about 31%. And what's disturbing about these numbers is that's now about 69% of people who are disengaged or actively disengaged. That they're just not tapping into their God-ordained, their God-designed thing for them to do. And this is reflective of the waning work ethic that we see in our culture, this lack of connection with God. It's a sign that we've lost our connection. We've lost our connection with God on this. And honestly, around Crosspoint, we've seen it too. I mean, our overall numbers of volunteers have dropped substantially. And listen, we get it. Like, your family's rhythms over the last 18 months are different. Your schedules are different. Rhythms have changed. Your weekly connections and interactions have kind of gone out the window, and you've created new ones. But when you do that, when you pull out and pull away from those things, this divine connection that you had, this purpose that you feel, it's no longer there. And again, we get it. I mean, things look completely different than they did all the way back in 2019. I mean, all the ways you used to maybe be able to serve or be a part of the mission here at Crosspoint might not be happening right now. Maybe you loved working at the coffee bar during the middle of the week, or maybe you loved being back in the kids' environments on a Sunday at 10:30 in the morning. I mean, wherever you might have found yourself, maybe it's just not there right now. But even in the midst of it, there's so many ways to get connected and engaged in the mission of this place, and really the divine connection that comes when we serve, when we tap into God in the way that we work. And the last thing that we're going to talk about here is this third one. That when we work to produce. Adam and Eve, they were put in the garden to produce a culture, to build up a kingdom. And Jesus, he was put on the earth to produce a righteous life so that salvation could be produced for people like you and like me. And there's nothing wrong with production. I mean, there's nothing wrong with getting things done, with checking things off the list. You see, anything that you want to do, that you want to work towards, usually is going to require a lot of hard work. It's going to require production. Maybe you want to make more money, right? Well, what do? You do more work. And then you have more money. Or maybe you want to have a better relationship with your spouse or with your parents. Well, it requires work. Maybe you find yourself and you just think, Chris, I wish I had a better prayer life. Well, it doesn't just happen. I mean, it requires work. You might think, I hear people say this a lot. Well, Chris, I'm an introvert. Like, I don't want to pray out loud in front of people, and listen, I get it. Like, I'm still one of the younger kids on the cul-de-sac that I grew up on. A lot of these families still live there. But when I show up at the family Christmas, and there's 30 some odd people there, they're like, hey, Chris, you want to pray, right? You're the pastor now. And it's like, listen, it doesn't just come naturally. It requires work. It's not like extroverts are like, oh yeah, I'd love to pray in front of a bunch of people. Let's do it, right? I mean, anything that's of value, it requires some work. Last verse for us today. This is Colossians 3. Check this out. Whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the inheritance as your reward, that you are serving the Lord Christ. Whatever you do, whether it's serving somewhere unpaid, whether it's fixing a joint on a plumbing line, or whether you're teaching a child and molding a young mind, whether it's managing somebody or putting that torque wrench on a lug nut, because when we work, we're tapping into the divine. Work heartily unto the Lord. Maybe you're managing somebody and you recognize, man, I'm going to have to let this person go. Well, work heartily unto the Lord by giving them the real, honest truth in loving ways. And doing so in a way that's going to protect everyone else who's still working there, because that person, they may hurt someone with their words, with their actions. And do it working heartily unto the Lord. Maybe you're a teacher. Maybe you're a teacher and you're starting to put some lesson plans together for the next year. Well, don't just go into autopilot. I know, I get it. It's a lot easier to do that, but recognize that all of your best, bring your best, your creative energies, your best minds to make that lesson work. Why? Because you're working heartily unto the Lord. Because you're trying to produce people that honestly wouldn't be produced without you. And in the process, you'll be serving, and you'll find out that honestly you're a lot more like God than maybe you ever anticipated. So we're going to wrap this up. I'm going to have you stand here in just a second. We're going to run through a couple of next steps. So let's stand. I've got a couple of next steps that if you begin to put these in, if you begin to implement them right now, that God can begin to change what this work looks like, whatever your work might be. So first one is this. Maybe you do a job inventory. Maybe you look at all the jobs you've had over your life and you see the ways that God has changed you, shaped you, molded your character, expanded your horizons, and the ways that He's made you the person that you are today. So maybe create a job inventory. Second one is this. I don't know about you, but the last year's been a little weird, hasn't it? I mean, I'm an extrovert. I love hanging out with Brad every day and Mark every day, the guys in the back. Like, I love that. But I work from home every day. And when you're at home, man, it's easy to just kind of kick back, right? I mean, over the last 18 months, you've probably done that. Well, listen. It's time to decide to get after it again, to get up, to get moving, and to get after it. So maybe that's your next step this week. Decide to get after it. And the last one is this, to volunteer. Jump in, serve somebody, whether it's here, whether it's outside this place, Gleaners, Wheelers, Cafe, whatever it might be. Get out, start serving, volunteer, jump in. The world needs the skill set that you have. So volunteer, jump in, serve a team. All right, Brad and the band, they've got one more song. We're going to sing this together and we'll get out of here. Let's do this.
Chains around us, by your grace we are no longer bound, no longer bound. You call me out of the grave, you call me into the light, you called my name and then my heart came alive. Your love is greater, your love is stronger, your love awakens, awakens, awakens me. Your love is greater, your love is stronger, your love awakens, awakens, awakens me. Oh, feel the darkness shaking, all the dead are coming back to life, come back to life. Hear the song awaken, all creation singing, we're alive, 'cause you're alive. You call me out of the grave, you call me into the light, you called my name and then my heart came alive. Your love is greater, your love is stronger, your love awakens, awakens, awakens me. Your love is greater, your love is stronger, your love awakens, awakens, awakens me. And what a love we found, death can't hold us still. Shout it out, we're alive, 'cause you're alive. And what a love we found, death can't hold us still. Shout it out, we're alive, 'cause you're alive. And what a love we found, death can't hold us still. Shout it out, we're alive, 'cause you're alive. Your love is greater, your love is stronger, your love awakens, awakens, awakens me. Your love is greater, your love is stronger, your love awakens, awakens, awakens me. Your love is greater, your love is stronger, your love awakens, awakens, awakens me. Your love is greater, your love is stronger, your love awakens, awakens, awakens me. Oh,
Hey guys, thank you for joining us. Make sure that you hit send on that connection card. We'd love to connect with you this week. Listen, if you're in the need of prayer, text the keyword need prayer to 25827. Want to thank you all for your generosity through the Joy Box. And listen, this week we all have a role to play. Let's make sure that we get after it. We'll see you next weekend.
your love